Thanks,
Welcome.
Rob. Excellent. So when Sheldon and Ryan and team asked us to come, they want us to come and talk about what do we do at Google and YouTube that makes our company such iconic and loved brands. And I decided that I don't really want to do that. And instead, I want to talk about these guys. These are impressionist painters from Paris in the 1860s. Just roll with me on this for a minute. It's going to go somewhere, I promise you. So if you've read Outliers, or actually David and Goliath by Malcolm Gladwell, this will sound reasonably familiar to you. The Impressionists were an interesting group of people. They had figured out a different way to paint in the 1860s. And they lived at a time when distribution in the art world in France was controlled almost entirely by this group called the Salon. They held the only major art show. It was the only major distribution of art, the way that new artists would become discovered. And they were the arbiters of what was good and what was bad. And they really didn't like what Monet and Degas and Renoir and the boys were laying down. And so they denied them distribution. They either denied them entry into the show entirely, or they gave them the worst possible spots in it. And for years, this led to a lot of angst and depression and alcoholism and a couple of suicides amongst the Impressionists. And it wasn't until 1874 that collectively they got this really neat idea. What if we just gave the finger to the Salon and we created our own distribution platform? And they hosted their own show. This was totally revolutionary at the time. And this crazy thing happened. People loved it. They came in, they bought these works of art, and really started to change the public tastes in art at the time. And it was entirely because they thought of distribution differently that they changed the course of Western art and Western culture at the time. If we fast forward to the 2000s, we've got video and movies as the major cultural art form of the day. And all of a sudden, production costs had shrunk by 90%. Anybody with a decent camera from Best Buy and a laptop computer could start making content of their own of near cinema quality. And they did. And people started experimenting by the millions. And the stuff that they were producing was weird. It was different. It was what most of us in the industry would call bad. And so they were denied distribution channels. A lot of people pitched traditional studios and networks on content, and they were told, no, this totally doesn't make any sense. We're not giving you a distribution channel. And so a lot of this content just languished on laptop hard drives to be seen by no one for quite a number of years. Until 2005, this crazy thing happened. This site called YouTube launched, and literally overnight, the cost of global video distribution went to $0. You yourself, as an individual, could become a global broadcaster for nothing. And all these people started uploading this weird content they had been making. And somewhat predictably, history kind of repeats itself, the powers that be, the Salon of the day, said this stuff is crap, nobody will ever want it, but people flooded to it in the millions. And all of a sudden, these YouTube creators started to become the Impressionists of our time. And they're collectively changing how we view content and what we think of as good and what we think of as bad. And if anybody has any doubts as to like how weird some of this stuff is, how many people know who PewDiePie is? Like 8 of you. So this is some homework. Hop onto YouTube, search for P-E-W die, like D-I-E, pie, P-I-E, and what you will see is like 2,000 videos of internet weird. Just ridiculous. This is a guy from Sweden who mostly plays video games and talks over them. He has 35 million subscribers. This is content that if anybody came and pitched probably any of us on it saying, this is going to be really good, premium, interesting stuff that people will like, we would ask them how much drugs they were taking and kindly usher them out of our office. But the public has their opinions. And these creators are really forging a brave new world in content, and I think they have a huge number of lessons that they can teach the rest of us. And frankly, incidentally, that's, I think, what makes YouTube and Google such awesome brands, it's not anything that we do ourselves, it's that we're a platform for what's awesome. We're not the arbiters of what's good or what's interesting or what's cool. We give you the tools to let you determine that, to let Red Bull determine that, to let PewDiePie determine what's going to be cool. And I think that brands have a lot that we can learn from them. So I'm going to go through a bunch of lessons that I think that these content creators are brilliant at. So the first one is that viral is not a strategy. And how many people here have got the brief, please make us a viral video? I know you've got, how many people have given the brief, please agency make us, please stop doing that. It's like the worst brief in the history. You're gonna leave, the agency's gonna be laughing and swearing and tearing their hair out. And what's more, it's a horrible idea, and the content creators know this. Viral videos are neat, they're really cool, they're a big aspect of what makes web video so neat, but it's total alchemy. Nobody has any idea what happens to push something viral. It might be Jimmy Kimmel tweeting something or mentioning it on TV, or Kim Kardashian sharing it on Instagram, or the CBC or NBC picking it up and mentioning it in a newscast, but you have no idea because the next time they might do all those things and it doesn't go viral. What's more, you have no control over when something goes viral. So how many people remember the double rainbow guy? It's 2 rainbows. What does it mean? It means you're too stoned, dude. That's what it means. That had been online for almost 2 years before Kimmel tweeted and went crazy and went viral. That's not a great strategy if you're a company to be like, all right, we're gonna make this content, we're gonna put it on the internet, and at some unknown point in the future, people will watch it. It'll be wicked. That's like a really, like, try to get that strategy approved from your CMO. It's a horrible idea. And there's another problem with going viral, and this is something that I think the YouTube creators know really well. Very often, there's not a hell of a lot that happens after it. It's kind of like Chris's talk before about sales, where you get this big bump and then nothing happens beyond that. So this is an actual graph. See, there it is, right there, actual graph. From CPG brand. You guys all probably saw this viral video. I'm not allowed to mention who it is because it's an actual graph of their views, but nothing happens afterwards. They uploaded this thing, it was on there for months. All of a sudden, the entire world turned its head for about 3 seconds and then promptly turned away. And this is a huge problem if what you're trying to do is build an audience, a long-term audience. And the creators know that. They know that they need to give people reasons to keep coming back. So you need to build a content strategy. And we get asked this a lot as well. How do we build a content strategy? You guys are YouTube and Google. You should know this. You run the platform. What works, what doesn't. So Greg, in his talk yesterday at Red Bull, touched on a whole lot of really great points. And I think Red Bull does it amazingly well. They give people reasons to keep coming back. And so does GoPro, incidentally. They're fantastic at it. But I hate using them as examples. No offense to the GoPro and Red Bull guys, if you're still in the room. And the reason is, none of us are Red Bull or GoPro. Like, how many people here are a giant media company that's gonna drop a guy from space with a tiny sugar water add-on that like bolts onto this? Nobody. Or how many people's products just genuinely, natively create awesome videos by their users every day? Like, if you sell accounting products, you can't be like, show me that reconciliation. Debits, credits, go. It doesn't happen, right? Nobody's gonna watch that stuff. So I hate using them as examples. So let's look at some other folks that have done it really well. And we'll get into them in a minute. So this is the framework that I wanna offer to you guys that Greg touched on very briefly. We call it Hero Hub and Help. So your hero moments are these big, get everybody's attention moments. This would be like what you really mean when you ask for a viral video. I want a big thing to get lots of attention so people will know that we're launching our new widget product or mattresses or whatever the case may be. Then you have to give people a reason to keep coming back, because if you don't, you're gonna be these guys, and that's a big problem. So, and that's where Hub comes in. And this is regular, episodic content. It's made for your core viewers, the people who you want to go from being people who know about your brand, who maybe saw your hero video, into regular fans, engaging fans. And then there's this help layer, which are all those little dots there. And this is always on content. You're uploading it all the time. You might do it in batches. You might do it every day. You might do it every 6 minutes. But this is really quotidian stuff. For most people, this is like how to buy, so like product reviews, walkthroughs, that kind of thing. But there are all kinds of different help strategies that you could bring forward. So one of the clients that we were dealing with, they make home appliances, and they have a big customer service department. And they were servicing calls in their customer service department at $17 a call, roughly, for like problem resolution. And then somebody in their marketing team realized that there was a huge number of YouTube videos, not uploaded by them, but uploaded by individual users, showing people how to fix their fridges and dishwashers and Cuisinarts and all of these kinds of things. And they realized, wait a second, like we can upload those videos at a very low cost, and the users solved their own problems. So they did this, and all of a sudden their help strategy was maintenance, product maintenance and repair for their products. And they started directing people to them from the call center. They started directing people to them from their website. They started directing people to them from the manuals and the actual things. And they saw multi-million-dollar savings in their call center. So help can mean, that help content can mean all kinds of different things. It depends on who you are. So who's done this well? I think probably one of the best was Volvo.
I've had my ups and downs.
Frankly, I don't think they ever talked to us. This was a really cool agency out of Sweden that did this. But they executed Hero Hub and Help perfectly. So how many people saw this campaign? There's like 7 or 8 people over there like living under a rock or something. So most of us, when they saw this, we were like, oh my God, this is so cool! Van Damme's still around. I thought he was like dead or in jail or something. But if you were a truck driver, what you saw when you saw this was impossible. Like, you had 2 phases of your life, before Volvo Dynamic Steering and after Volvo Dynamic Steering. Because what you were seeing was just totally impossible. These guys spent all day in trucks backing them up to loading docks and stuff, and here are 2 trucks backing up at speed, parallel so accurately that Van Damme can do this and not get ripped in half. Which is awesome, exactly. And so for them, this was a total WTF moment. And many campaigns, like most traditional campaigns, would have left it there. It would have been like, we'll not rip Van Damme in half, and everybody like cross your fingers and hope that we sell more trucks. Instead, they put up this Hub series. Most of us never watched it, but that's okay, we're not the audience, unless we have some truckers in the audience. This was regular content on what it's like to be a truck driver for a mine in Angola, what it's like to be a truck driver for a forestry company in Finland, or a long-haul trucker in Utah, or and a whole series on Pimp My Ride, because a lot of these guys are owner-operators. And then they had this layer of help content below. And this stuff is like dry as eating a bowl of sawdust. None of us would ever watch. It's like 5-minute videos on truck transmissions, or 10-minute videos on how they assemble the towing hooks. It's like stuff that none of us would care about, but if you were about to buy a truck, you totally would. And so all of a sudden, anybody who was watching those videos, they knew was likely in market for a truck, and they could remarket to them, they could talk to them, they could build this community and go and speak to those people very accurately. Another group that I think does this really well is actually late night talk show. These guys are typically the arbiters of what's culturally relevant, and Kimmel and Ellen, I think, were the ones who did it, although she's daytime, did it the best originally. They started with it, but Jimmy Fallon actually just recently, I think, took the crown. Late last year, sometime in October, he took over from Kimmel for the lead with 4 million subscribers to his channel. And that's pretty awesome for a show that regularly gets a little under 2 when it airs on TV. And they've been really smart at creating content specifically for the web, for their YouTube channels. And Fallon has things like the lip sync battle, the history of hip-hop, and a whole bunch of other things that are really made as snippets to be consumed online on their YouTube channels, and they pay a huge amount of attention to that. My favorite actually is John Oliver. This is my favorite show right now. I've never seen a show on TV, ever. I've only ever watched it on YouTube. It's my favorite show. All doing great jobs at this. So the next thing, and again, this was a big point in Greg's talk, you have to be authentic. So authenticity is to YouTube what production values are to television. It's table stakes. If you're gonna film a TV commercial, it's gotta look hot, right? You gotta have the car going up the Sea to Sky Highway with the like thunderclouds in the background and the rain's glistening perfectly off the hood and all the lighting is perfectly set. If you do that too much on YouTube, or if that's all you've got, it comes across as phony. Authenticity is what matters. So what does this look like in real life? How many people remember Bendgate? Hashtag Bendgate. For those of you who don't remember, this is when the iPhone 6 was launched and it was discovered to be pocket pliable, let's say. So there was a huge amount of confusion, a lot of controversy. Do these things bend, or was it just some dick who broke his phone, he's trying to get a new one, and he's like yelling at Apple, and nobody knew? And where do you think people went for the source of truth? Most people would say like CNET, Consumer Reports, perhaps, or a tech blogger like David Pogue. How many people would guess a guy in Newmarket, Ontario named Louis Hilsentegger? Probably not, right? But this is Louis. He has a channel on YouTube called Unbox Therapy. And when he launched his Bendgate review, he had 16 million views in less than 24 hours. And the reason is he spent several years cultivating this audience of rabid tech enthusiasts for his videos where he unboxes stuff. And again, this is like that content that the salon of today would say is demented, and we're never going to have a show about that because no one will watch this content. It's just Louis in his living room taking new stuff, taking it out of the box, showing it to the camera, putting the batteries in, trying it, and giving his reviews. It's like the lowest production quality you've ever seen, but it's unbelievably authentic, and it translates into numbers like this because he's a trusted source of truth. Now, I don't want to put the creators on a pedestal too much because they get it wrong sometimes. They stray. There aren't rules yet, and everybody's still figuring this out. So this is Lindsay Hughes, otherwise known as Beauty Baby 44, and she has a channel with a little less than 1 million subscribers where she talks about fashion and beauty and what it's like being a teenage girl in high school. Genuinely interesting stuff if you're a teenage girl, I presume. And so what we're about to see is a what's in my bag video. Have you guys seen these online? Be like, what's in Robert De Niro's bag or Martin Scorsese or whoever. So she was doing what's in her bag when she goes to the beach, in her beach bag. And she talks about the bag and how much she likes it and the sunscreens that she has and the various, blankets and things that she brings to the beach. And then in the middle of the video, about like 2 minutes in, this happens.
Thing I have in here is actually a snack. And I picked this up on my way home. I just got home from driving. I was out earlier today and I actually picked up a salad at Wendy's.
Now, if you've seen the size of her bag from the previous frames, it's like the size of the salad. This was like the worst, shillingest, crappiest product placement ever, and she got totally flamed by all of her fans. It was okay. It was a good teachable moment, both for Lindsay and for Wendy's. Is there anyone from Wendy's in the room or their agency? They're like horribly offended. Any guy stands up, fuck this, and leaves. So needless to say, this did not have the effect that they wanted, and the reason was it was not authentic. This was totally not something she was going to bring to the beach. This was just like, oh, we need millennials to eat our salads for reasons that I'm not clear on, and so we'll get this girl to take it out of her bag, which is ridiculous. So you have to be authentic. Next is a very interesting way that people view the platform. So I had the very good fortune a couple of days ago to talk to some guys called For Y'all Entertainment. They run a comedy channel with several 100,000 subscribers. They're from Burlington, Ontario. They're really funny guys. And they were telling me how much they go into YouTube analytics. How many people here knew that YouTube has a complete web analytics suite in the back end? So about like a third, maybe a half. How many people actually go in and check the stuff that's in there? Like maybe a half of those or less. So this goes to Chris's point of these web analysts who have all this awesome data, but nobody will listen to them. I think this is the most underused, least mined source of data in marketing, and it's unbelievable. So this is just a total different way to treat YouTube. Most people use it as a place to park a bunch of videos, and maybe they'll see them, and hopefully we'll sell salads, and it'll be great. I view it as a bit of a different animal. It's kind of like a factory where you stuff videos in one end and data comes out the other. And it's really interesting data, like What kind of demos watched your channel and your videos? Where did they come across it? When did they share it? Why did they share it? When did they drop off? Do they really like it when there's a dog in your commercial or not? When the product shots are blue or red? You can use this as like the greatest, biggest, most dynamic, real-time testing focus group in the world, but very few brands do. The creators are brilliant at that, and they're totally obsessed with the data. So next up, forget the formats. TV has rules. YouTube really doesn't have rules, at least not yet. So any basketball fans in the room? I'm a big basketball fan. Raptors season tickets, really like it. So even if you didn't love basketball, some of you might remember this. Can we roll this video?
It's easy to sum it up when you just talk about practice. We sitting in here, I'm supposed to be the franchise player, and we're in here talking about practice. I mean, listen, we talking about practice. Not a game, not a game, not a game. We talking about practice.
So that's Allen Iverson, very good basketball player and professional crazy person, star player for the Philadelphia 76ers, and he was being accused by the press that he wasn't going to practice because he was legendary for having a bad attitude. He came from the streets, gang tattoos all over the place. The league made him wear sleeves when he played so they wouldn't have the gang signs on TV. And so he had this hilarious press conference. That's like 10 seconds. He went on for like 5 minutes. Like, not a game, not a game, not a game, practice. For like 3-4 minutes. It was like huge all over, but this was like years ago. All right, several years ago. At the time, it was very popular online. ESPN got a lot of views out of it. So we're going to show next is a video released by my favorite burger joint. A little local place in Toronto, just down the street from my house. And they released this. Just a couple
Look, if
of
the
weeks
bloggers
ago.
are telling you I missed the napkin, then I missed the napkin. But if somebody says he doesn't put napkins in the bag, then it can be one napkin out of all the napkins in 5 years. But that's enough. If I missed a napkin, then I missed a napkin. It's as simple as that. But it ain't about that. It ain't about that at all. It's easy to sum up my restaurant when we're just sitting in here talking about napkins. I'm in here, I'm one of the top burger joints in Toronto, and we're sitting here talking about napkins. I mean, listen, we're talking about napkins, man. Not a burger, not a burger, not a burger. We're talking about napkins, man.
So that's like a 3.5-minute spot. It doesn't fit anywhere in the TV universe, and it's parodying a piece of pop culture that happened like 3-4 years ago. And it's not the kind of thing that fits anywhere else but online, because there aren't these set formats. You can do whatever the hell you want. And this is really just the beginning, actually. I recently, you guys know what TrueView is? This is the skippable, if you don't know it by like ad product name, you definitely know it from user association. These are the skippable ads on YouTube where like you want to watch your cat video and all of a sudden it's like some random ad and you skip this in 5 seconds. So those are TrueView videos. And I recently saw the longest TrueView video I've ever seen before because these have no length, these TrueView videos. That first 5 seconds is free, and then if somebody skips, the advertiser doesn't pay. And if they watch all the way to the end of the video or 30 seconds, whichever comes first, only then does the advertiser pay. But as a result, we use that as a signal to say, okay, this person's interested in this thing. So we let your commercial be as long as you want it to be. So I saw the longest TrueView commercial that I have yet seen. It was for a media company that was launching a pilot of a TV show. So they had their first 5 seconds. It was like the bumper, like, in a world where everything is messed up, whatever the bumper said. And then it just went right into the pilot. It was an hour-long TrueView ad. And I got like 20 minutes into it before I was like, wait a second, I was watching something else. This is an ad. What the what? So there are no rules. And if you think that's crazy, check this out.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome aboard Flight 101 of Flaw Airlines. We are going to go non-stop now to the city that never sleeps, San Francisco, California.
So this is a video released by Virgin America. And it's 5 hours long. We're not gonna watch all.
That it just makes you, you know, a more sociable person.
Really?
And, you know.
So I just pulled a couple of things. They hid Easter eggs all throughout. It's 5 hours of mannequins on a flight. And there's some hilarious stuff. The mannequin next to the main character gets like totally wasted on Patron tequila, I guess, at some point. It's like passed out on the tray table. It's really funny. It has 750,000 views. 750,000 views for a 5 hour long. Now that doesn't mean they viewed the whole thing, but 750,000 views where they got to like a meaningful segment. We actually say anytime somebody views past 11 seconds, they're like, all right, they're probably engaged with this video. 750,000 views in an era where 80% of brand released videos get less than 10,000 views. And this is content that just the powers that be today would say, you're out of your goddamn mind. I'm never greenlighting a bunch of mannequins on a plane for 5 hours. Please get out of my office. And yet 750,000 views. So I think that's a good way to segue into my last point from my favorite YouTube creator, John Green, no relation. I think he sums it up really well, where he says, don't worry about the number of people. It's really about how many people love what you're doing. Because the content game, it's not a game of tonnage. You're not going and buying all the eyeballs. We're used to this era of television where I gotta go and buy all the people because half of the people don't give a shit about what I sell. So I'm gonna get half, and then have half of those, only like a quarter of them are in market. And then of that quarter, only like a fifth of them are actually interested in my product. So the end story is I gotta buy everybody to get to those 8 people. With the targeting online, with the way people opt into content, just get those 8 people. Forget everybody else. Give yourself the license to experiment, to try things, be a little different, be a little weird, and make stuff that people love. And you'll go down that road of building fans for your brand, not just customers, but fans. And will you get the like crazy, screaming teenage girl meeting the Beatles fans that Red Bull has? Maybe, maybe not, but you'll definitely get some engaged folks. And that is all I have for you today.